Africa,
You are listening to African Father in America podcast by Simon Javan Okello, live from Seattle, Washington, USA.
Thank you so much for joining me for another amazing episode of the Daily African Proverbs. My name is Simon Javan Okello, and I am excited to be here for another session of the Daily African Proverbs. And today I have an exclusive opportunity to, have an interview, a conversation with, someone that I look up to, someone that I admire as a leader. Many of you who use social audio, whether it's on Clubhouse or Twitter Spaces, we all know of Wisdom App, and we all know how much knowledge and wisdom is shared over there. And I want to introduce you, for those who don't know, Dayo. And Dayo is the founder of Wisdom App. But I want to just quickly give you a little background about Dayo. But before I do that, I want to let you know that we'll be talking about, an African proverb and Dayo's perspective about this African proverb. And then we will also be live streaming this conversation on Wisdom App. So join us on Wisdom App. If you're not already there, and we'll learn about the story of where did this idea of Wisdom App start from, and what are some of the impacts that it's having. And then we'll learn a story of a story from Dayo's childhood that inspires the leader that she is today. And finally, we learn also how you, the listeners of the African Father in America podcast, can stay connected with Dayo and also support the work that Dayo is doing around the world. So, just real quickly, Dayo started as an IT management consultant at Accenture and Deloitte. Then, driven by the lack of diversity in London's tech ecosystem, she joined the founding team of OneTech, London's largest diversity in startups program, backed by the JP Morgan Chase Foundation. Subsequently, after spotting a gap in the market, she went on to found Africlick, a cultural dating app targeting 1 billion Africans globally. In 2019, Dayo was named by the Financial Times amongst top 100 most influential ethnic minority leaders in tech. She has spoken on panels and lectured on diversity in technology at various organizations, including the UK Government Department for International Development, Uber, Google, and Oxford. I just want to move on quickly to some of her educational accomplishments. I'm learning here that Dayo has a bachelor's in computer science from the University of Manchester, and a master's in technology from the University College London. Wow, you are so accomplished, and I feel that you just have a bright future, even though you've done so much. I feel that your future is so bright. I want to take us back to this African proverb, that I feel is really relevant to what's going on, especially in Africa currently. Mm-hmm. When you think about Africa at the moment, we see that there are conflicts in many places around Africa, but also in the world. Because of the pandemic, we are living in a time of conflict where people are trying to get vaccinated or not get vaccinated, to take care of themselves or to just give up and let the current wave of events sweep you away. So I just want you to share with us your perspective on this proverb from Nigeria. It says, when brothers fight to the death, a stranger inherits their father's estate. And also feel free to share with us, before you dive into the proverb, how you're doing. Thank you so much.
Well, good morning, Simon. And first of all, thank you so much for having me. You know, I am a big fan of your work. I'm so thankful for this medium of social audio because that's what helped me to discover you and just this very refreshing dose of daily African proverbs. So I think it's a great quote that you found for me. So thank you. And it's a Nigerian quote as well. I think it speaks to, and I think this is not exclusive to Nigeria, where we tend to have the extended family structure. And traditionally, we may tend to have a lot of siblings. On my parents on both sides, I would say maybe they are one of, I'm going to say 6 to 7, because you know how it goes sometimes. The half sibling is still a sibling, right? So if I ask my dad, Dad, is Uncle so and so actually your brother or is he your cousin? My dad will get upset. Why are you asking me that? It doesn't matter. That's my brother. He doesn't like it. When you see, they don't distinguish. And I think it's a very beautiful thing, right? I think where for us sometimes the difference between a cousin and a sibling is very small. So I think with all of the positives of the extended family structure, there is also the negatives. And I think it's a very critical proverb, right? So do you mind repeating for me for it one more time?
Yes, yes. I would love to repeat it. And, as you are sharing, also, I was just reminded of how many relatives lived with us. Growing up, I lived with my aunties, my uncles, and, it was just an amalgamation of people. And it's true. Even my mom, when you asked her, is so and so your real sister, she would say, this is your auntie. That's the end of the conversation. The proverb says, when brothers fight to the death, a stranger inherits their father's estate.
Oh, sorry. So yes, I think it's such an object proverb, and I think it's a function of us having, as a function of us having large extended families, as a function of us having oftentimes blurred lines between who is a sibling or a half sibling or a cousin whose parents passed away. So we took them on, and this is a sibling, and it's beautiful. But oftentimes, I think when it comes to the inheritance, it's messy. So I think this proverb is perfect. And the implication is that this messiness has existed perhaps for generations back. I'm not sure, which is why the proverb would exist. I think we have something, at least in my view, culturally, where the elders, we don't like to do end of life planning. Your will, if a lot of us, if you talk to your parents about the will, are you trying to kill me? Why? They don't want to talk about it.
That's
And
true.
I think this also leans into the proverb because oftentimes, sadly, when the elder passes, when the patriarchy passes, there is uncertainty. And then the second part I take away from it, um, it's absolutely true. This is something that I've seen happen within sections of my extended family. Literally, the proverb. When I read the proverb today, I was like, "Does Simon know something about my family?" That I actually read it. Yeah, this is definitely situations that I have seen play out when the family feuds. And actually, I think I'm gonna check. I'm pretty sure Jay-Z has a quote along the lines of when the family feuds dot dot dot. I'm not quite sure, but yes, I agree with the proverb entirely.
Yeah.
The challenge of the large extended family is the cohesiveness and the decision making and the leadership. And if that is not aligned, then the structure can become weak and it can enable for outsiders. So I think it's very
Yeah.
true.
I love how thoughtful you are. And man, I just want to thank you and the Wisdom team, for your retweets of these proverbs, and for just for this beautiful app that you created. It's really it's like a meditative space for me. It's a space where I come after an hour of the daily African proverbs every day, and I just reflect on how was that whole hour conversation. And if I was sharing with I have 3 daughters, I'm a father of 3 daughters. If I was sharing with my daughters a summary of what I just learned, how would I do it? So I come to practice how to talk to my daughters on wisdom. Anyway, so speaking of my daughters, I want to take us on a journey.
Say,
Yeah, go
if we
ahead.
can pause just before we move on, because
Yeah.
I think you said something very powerful, that when you speak on wisdom, and let's also let the people listening, because they may be wondering, what is this wisdom? Is this an oracle somewhere that you
Oh
can come and
yes.
pray to? But
Ye-
for those who may not know listening in, wisdom is it's a new social audio app. We're only about 7 weeks old. We are a social audio app, and we use social audio to connect mentors and experts like Simon to knowledge seekers like yourself, the listeners. Except the difference with Wisdom is when Simon goes live on Wisdom, his talks are recorded. So you can come back anytime on Wisdom and play the talks. But also, Wisdom gives the mentor or the expert the ability to take questions from the listeners. And Simon, for example, on a daily basis, he can offer time slots where maybe you can listen to Simon's wisdom and then come up in wisdom and maybe get 5 minutes one on one with Simon. Maybe you want to tap into some of his wisdom. Now, when you mentioned that when you go live on wisdom, you imagine you're passing on your teachings to your daughters, I think it's that's something that is one of the use cases within my mind that I had for wisdom, where people wonder on wisdom, all of the conversations are by default recorded. And that is to store the wisdom so it can pass on for generations. And I just wanted to take the time to explain that, because you sharing that you have a visual in terms of passing the wisdom on to your daughters, I think that is perfect. That is what is that is what this is intended for. Also, I think it's great you have 2 daughters. I have 2 sisters. My father also has 3 daughters, and I think it's great when African men get lots of daughters, because oftentimes I think, and I'm not sure, maybe this is another conversation we need to have on wisdom later, it's probably making you very pro girl and very pro women, even maybe unintentionally. And this is something even on my mother's side, my grandfather, I think he had about six girls and 1 son, and then my dad had daughters, and I don't know. I just think culturally something different happens to African men when they have daughters. And I don't want to take us too much to another conversation, but it's a conversation I would love to have with you. But actually, let me just ask, I mean, what do you think in your view in terms of how has having daughters impacted you?
Yeah, it's definitely a conversation for an entire episode, so we should plan that. But first, before I had daughters, I grew up in a household, that was led by a mom, by my mother, and majority of my siblings were girls. And even though my mom was in a polygamist marriage, the way she always fought for her rights and always earned her own income, and her entrepreneurship and her creativity is how she nurtured all of us. I learned how to cook, do dishes. So having daughters is cementing my mother's education in and how she developed me as a human being and as a leader and as a hardworking man. My daughters are like little versions of my mother. Even though they are not in Kenya where I grew up, we are in Seattle, Washington. They are very little. The oldest is 8, but you can already tell that she's not a pushover. And the youngest is, I have 3 by the way. The youngest is almost 3 years old. And even though they are strong little girls, they are also full of love and full of compassion, and they're very passionate. So for me, they've slowed me down, and I think they've allowed me to just digest life more and to be in the moment more. So they've completely allowed me to really enjoy life and work hard and know that I'm here for a bigger purpose.
Amazing. Thank you for sharing that.
Of course, of course. So, I want you to share with us a couple of things, especially when it comes to, how, your upbringing contributed to the leader that you are today. Share with us whether it was maybe some food that you really loved growing up, or maybe it was a place and some colors and some smells that you really loved growing up, or a story of something that you did that you are entrusted with that inspires who you are as a leader. A lot of the time in the African Father in America podcast, I always share with people the story of me when I was 8. I was supplying milk and bread in Manyata, and Manyata is the largest slum in my hometown, Kisumu. Kisumu is the 3rd largest city in Kenya. So it's a place of over 500,000 people, and one of the largest, the biggest population in the whole city lives in Manyata, where I came from. So being little, I wasn't even able to sit on a bicycle, seat. I would put my feet in between the bicycle frame, and I had a big load, and I had a market area in our neighborhood, and I learned how to transact business from a very young age. And since then, I've always found myself in situations where there's a problem, I create a solution, I find ways of making that solution also generate some income for me. So I want to invite you to share with us, a story in your childhood that inspires who you are today.
Okay, great. So I'm going to touch on the themes of leadership and creation, and I love that this is an Africa-centered podcast because I don't need to explain too much around the references. So I am the firstborn, and then there are 3 after me. So I was given a leadership position by default, whether or not I wanted it. It was made very clear to me that I needed to be a role model and to lead as best as I could. And this happened from very, very young. And a quick story I can think about was I cannot remember. We would have been probably 6, 7, very young, and parents were out. And this was when, I should also add, I grew up between the UK and Nigeria, so we have different cultures. This particularly happened. Actually, I can't remember which country it happened in. Probably the UK. And parents were out, and I think all children will try and do this at some point. We went to my parents' bedroom and took all of the cosmetics and the wash product and squeezed everything into the sink. So, you take all the shampoo, you squeeze, you take the bleach, mixed everything together, having a lot of fun and making a lot of mess. A parent comes home, and actually, let me clarify because we are 4. I wasn't involved. I was doing something productive to one side because that was me as the sibling. I was a bit older. The 3 younger ones did it. Then when the parents came home, of course, you've wasted, you've made a mess. What is going on? So I was to one side feeling very smug. I'm not going to get in trouble. I knew nothing about this. I wasn't involved. But what actually happened was we all got in trouble and we all received the same punishment. And I said, I wasn't even in the same, I think I might have even have been having lessons or tutoring, with a tutor. So I had an alibi. I had a witness that could say she was with, I had an independent witness from outside of the family who could say she wasn't involved. And my parents said, you're the oldest and you're responsible for them. So you are going to partake in the same punishment as everybody else. You're a unit. That is, I think, definitely one teaching. I mean, even to this day, I still think it's a bit unfair, but it is a teaching that stayed with me in that teaching, I suppose, that our outcomes are intertwined. We're not a separate entity. And I think that is something, it's a very critical distinguishing fact. This is when it works. These things don't always work. When it works within our culture, because I believe in our culture, oftentimes, even if you are succeeding as successful as an individual, if your immediate family is not well and also reasonably taken care of, are you really successful? And I really think that is something very ingrained within our culture. You may not see this within other cultures, even with the parent child. With the African parent, if your child is not good, it doesn't matter how successful you are. Your child is a reflection of you, and you are tied in. It's very rare for us to do that thing where you say, maybe, oh, I'm going to wash my hands. We've done everything we can. You, it takes a lot for us to do that, right? It takes a lot for us to do that. You hold family very close, and your outcomes are intertwined. So yeah, that's my story.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. And, many troublemakers, many children who are troublemakers end up being disruptors, in the world, whether it's in technology. And I think that's what you're doing, disrupting the.
I
Yeah.
wasn't the troublemaker because I was
Well,
the thing. When you're the leader, when you were the firstborn, I didn't get to be the troublemaker. I had to be watching other people and making sure they weren't making trouble.
yeah, that's true. That's true. Man, and also, how you're all punished, given the same punishment, even though you actually didn't make the mistake. It reminds me of how I deal with my daughter sometimes, because there's no excuse. If you had an opportunity to to make things better, and you're like, well, I'll let them make a mistake and learn from it. As parents, there's just that default. I don't know how I could do it better, and I wonder if there's any better way. Sometimes I feel that it's jungle justice, but it's also how I was raised, and I just do it because it's what works. But I don't like doing it. I don't know if there's any other way. But I want to welcome everyone who has joined us for today's production of the African Father in America podcast. We are live streaming exclusively on Wisdom app. And if you don't know what Wisdom app is, it's a social audio app which connects knowledge seekers to mentors. And the mission of Wisdom app is to democratize access to mentoring. And I'm really, really privileged to be here with Dayo, who is the founder of Wisdom. And I shared with you earlier that she started as an IT management consultant at Accenture and Deloitte, and she's accomplished so much, from also founding Africlick, a cultural dating app targeting 1 billion Africans globally, and being recognized by Financial Times as one of the top 100 most influential ethnic minority leaders in tech. I would love for you to, make sure you're sharing this link on Wisdom if you are watching this, if you're listening to this conversation there. And, let me know what you think of our conversation until this moment. And also let me know what you think about the African proverb that we started our conversation with. The proverb says, when brothers fight to the death, a stranger inherits their father's estate. Now I want us to just go a little deeper into Wisdom App, how it started. And there are so many conversations that have happened on Wisdom. I remember the first time, when I was using Wisdom, I didn't even know that it was a recording I was listening to, because I get so sucked into things that I can listen to. I just find myself so zoomed in. And later on is when I was like, can I chime in? Then I realized it was a recording of a previous room. And then I was like, now this is something I have to learn how to use, So I didn't know at that time that you had anything to do with it. But I had met you, a few months ago, when Clubhouse was just becoming something, And I remember just listening to you passionately share about, in fact, we were meeting in Ife Olarinde's spaces, where we were primarily talking about alternatives to Clubhouse, and how, people of African descent need to have their own platforms. Little did I know that you are actually envisioning to start your own. And so just take us through the journey of dreaming about it, and then bringing it into real life. For example, we are live streaming on the app right now, and also share with us, some of the most wonderful conversations that you've had on Wisdom App.
Okay, absolutely. So, as you've told our listeners, that there's a mission for Wisdom, and the vision is to democratize access to mentorship, or to put it another way, to democratize access to knowledge. And that's a mission that is close to my heart, because I believe that access to knowledge and mentoring should be everyone's right and not a privilege. I think today access to mentoring is a privilege, and that might depend on perhaps geographically where you are in the world, or what your environment is, or your family situation. And in terms of a lot of my background and my sort of my why has been around diversity in access and diversity in tech. Um, as you mentioned earlier, I had a lead role on a program in London called the OneTech program. And the objective of that program was to increase the diversity of tech startup founders in London that were accessing funding. We found that certain groups were underrepresented. So it was a situation where London is a very diverse city, but when we look at the profile of tech founders who are accessing funding, getting investment, that profile is not diverse. It was lacking in women, lacking in ethnic minorities, lacking in people who did not have a degree, lacking in working class people as well. And there was a wider program with many work streams to understand why is it this way and how can we change it. And one of the key findings was a lack of mentorship. So what we found was that when we look at women, ethnic minorities, people who don't have degrees, we also looked at children of immigrants, or immigrants, should we say, they absolutely had the desire to start a business. And I think to your point earlier, Simon, sometimes those groups can be quite entrepreneurial, just by nature, as you said. Growing up in my slight segue, but growing up, this was with my grandmother, was in a Surulere in Lagos, which is a very buzzing area in Lagos. The front of my grandmother's house was a shop. There was a shop room built into the front of the house. So even on her day-to-day musings around the house, there was a girl at the front selling from the shop. She was a business, even though she was I would say, I don't know if that counts as a housewife, because she had her small, like many African women, right? She was in her home in the compound, but there was a business happening, out of the front of the house. So I think we can say she was an entrepreneur, right? I think entrepreneurship can be naturally in the blood of a lot of underrepresented groups, because they've had to hustle. And so we were looking into, why is it? We know that whether you are a woman or maybe you're working class or you didn't go to university, they still all wanted to start businesses, but why wasn't it happening? And one of the key foundings was it was a lack of mentorship. So when an individual perhaps discovers a problem or they have an idea that they want to build something, especially at the idea stage, it's very critical that they can get access to mentoring from somebody who is more experienced so they can refine the idea and ensure that they're going to build the right thing. Oftentimes, you may have okay, I don't know, I may decide I want to start a platform, like your Simon, or a podcast. What's going to help me is speaking to somebody who has, maybe like you, who has been successfully doing this for a long time. And you're going to pass on wisdom to me at the beginning of my journey. Maybe you're going to tell me, scan the market, see what is out there, make sure you're original. Like, I think even Simon, with your offering, I have not seen anything like your offering, and particular to the level of quality and the level of consistency. I think it's very unique, right? And that is a strength. But if somebody can't access mentoring, they might say, I want to do a podcast and we're going to talk about pop culture. Great. There's 10,000 podcasts all talking about pop culture. So in essence, we realized that, to some to where we are, part of the reason why there was a lack of diverse people wanting to start businesses and start startups was that they lacked access to mentoring. We tried to set up a mentoring program within the OneTech program. We realized mentoring programs are very difficult to run. You have to recruit both sides, the mentors and the people who want to be mentored. You have to match them. They have to meet. You have to try and feed back afterwards. Was this a success? Was it not a success? Like, it just wasn't feasible. So that was when a problem crystallized within my mind. And then when the social audio technology became like available commercially, I just knew it was a great opportunity to use social audio to connect people who have knowledge with people who are seeking knowledge. And then, finally, something else I experienced in the space was also that a lot of people had tried to use LinkedIn for mentoring. So what we found is people would tell us, well, they would search on LinkedIn and find somebody who looked like their profile had the wisdom that they wanted to tap into, and they would inbox them. But LinkedIn is not built for you to connect with people who you don't already know. In fact, they actively discourage it. LinkedIn says only connect to this person if you know them. And what happens is, where there are high profile experts on LinkedIn, their inboxes are often filled with requests from people that they don't know, who want to tap into their wisdom, who want, some kind of help. Oftentimes those requests get ignored. There's no way for the expert to filter through those requests for quality, who they think they can help. And they will often only respond to the requests where it's by a warm introduction, which also means that the mentorship and the knowledge stays within closed networks. It's, that they're gatekeepers. And so the intention of wisdom is also to bypass the warm introduction. So maybe, for example, there's an expert like you. Let's say perhaps I followed you for a while, but I have no way of getting an introduction to you. But now somebody can download wisdom, they can listen to your talks, they can tap into your wisdom. Then when you go live on wisdom, let's say you've shared your daily thoughts, and typically our experts on wisdom will reserve maybe 15 minutes at the end of their content to take questions from the listeners. And that is where wisdom's unique function comes in, where the app will take a queue of timed listeners, and then you as the expert will decide how long you're going to give your guests to come up and ask questions. And then that's the chance for this sort of timed mentoring session. It might be 5 minutes, it might be 10 minutes, but the intention is it's usually a precise time that wisdom will give. And then, of course, in the future, because of course, another part of wisdom from the expert side is to enable experts to monetize their expertise. A lot of us are experts in something, but we struggle to monetize what we know. And that is where we are looking with wisdom to build in a function and to release very soon, where as an expert, you can charge for your advice, or like audio mentoring, audio office hours, but do it directly through the app. So that's what's coming next.
Man, I love it. I love it, and it reminds me of the current benefits that many mentors like myself who use Wisdom app to share with people African wisdom. I love the coins, the wisdom coins. It's such a perfect incentive. Just speak to that for a moment so that everyone can also know that Wisdom is the only social audio app that you can literally leave every presentation with some coins that you've earned. No other app does that to creatives. And someone like me, I'm doing my creative endeavors full time, and I'm a full time father. And I also have all my other initiatives, my nonprofit, my media company. I do this full time. So anything I do, something little needs to come from it, whether it's just a connection, whether it's an incentive like this, because incentives are indicators of appreciation of, oh, I did something good, yeah, that's why this came off of it. It's not out of greed or desire to always make money in every opportunity, but even if you have a child or even if you have a pet, the more you appreciate them for what they're doing, the better they become. So I want to really appreciate you for doing that for creatives. It doesn't matter, it doesn't matter how much they've been followed on the app. The knowledge is valued and their time is valued, and it's being rewarded in a beautiful way.
Wow, Simon, you've explained it. So you've explained it so well. And it sounds like we've hit the mark. So yes, within Wisdom, we have a virtual in-app currency called MentorCoin. And our creators earn MentorCoin in proportion to the number of listening minutes that they gain on the app. And as you said, and then the way the mentor coin works, you build up your mentor coin. And when you reach a certain amount, then within the app, you can you have two options. You can exchange your mentor coin for a gift card, which is redeemable at places like eBay and Amazon and Starbucks. Or you may decide to donate your mentor coin to charity, which is also something that you can do. And I think, yeah, precisely to how you've described it, Simon, the intention around mentor coin is that wisdom is creator first. We are creative first, and I felt it was important that we launched with a feature, literally, as you said, as a token of appreciation to our creators. So you can understand that we appreciate you, we see you, and whilst, as I say, nobody is perhaps going to get rich and maybe retire from the mentor coin. Like I don't think it's going to be anybody's single stream of income. However, it's a step in the right direction. A lot of people say that, yes, they love to see the coin build up, and then they're kind of excited to cash it out for a gift card. And, for some people, they say, oh, I'm going to buy myself a cup of coffee. Some people will put the mentor coin towards their next. I think everybody has an Amazon purchase or list, but particularly creators, they'll be like, well, I'm going to put this towards my next equipment or something, that they're going to buy. So yeah, absolutely. And I'm not aware of, I think typically with the large social networks, the very big established social networks, the YouTubes and the Instagrams and things like that, they don't share their profits with their I call it the creator middle class, right? I think where it comes to the very big platforms, they're very focused on their upper tier of creators. So people who have maybe 500,000 and above followers into the several millions. I think those are the creators that they focus on as their priority, and then they tend to get the rewards. And wisdom is very focused on the creator middle class. That is people within, like, the thousands, to the 10,000s and upwards. And yeah, I think it's important. And yeah, the mentor coin, I really like it. And as we said, that is the first step. And the second step after the mentor coin will be building in an audio office hours function so that people can directly monetize their advice through wisdom. So in like one-to-one dedicated sessions.
Yeah, I can't wait for that. I feel like I give a lot of free advice. I told you that I've worked with artists from over 30 countries in Africa, in the diaspora, and sometime an artist just calls and says, "Do you have time to advise me on this brand strategy that I want to do?" And they know that I have ideas and I can give them thoughts, but I end up spending 2 hours with someone who is being paid a lot. I paid them a lot to perform at my festival, and they learned of what I could do. So they're reaching out for ideas, and it's not one, it's many people. So now if wisdom builds this, I'll be creating, I'll have a calendar on wisdom with several people, and I'll be like, okay, let's meet on wisdom.
Yeah, absolutely. And
Yeah,
the thing
yeah.
is, you will send them a link, book my audio office hours.
Yeah.
And
I
then
love it.
she said, you
I
can
love it.
monetize your expertise, because exactly people are picking your brain.
Yeah,
Okay,
I
can I
love
pick
it.
your brain? 2 hours later.
I love it. And I don't know. I do so many things in the nonprofit world, in the music live event production world, and I don't know. I'm just excited for you, and I feel very very privileged that we connected and that you created the time for us to have this conversation today. I would love for you to just think about how I can actually continue supporting you, and how my community can continue supporting you, and also how we can stay in touch with you and how we can support wisdom and some of your initiatives. But really briefly, for those who are joining us, in this moment of our conversation, I've been having a wonderful, wonderful conversation with Dayo, who is the founder of Wisdom App. And I've learned a lot. We first dissected an African proverb, and learned what it means to Dayo, and then we talked about a story from Dayo's childhood that inspires the leader that she is today. And then we started talking about Wisdom App, and speaking of Wisdom App, I see that there's someone that wants to ask you a question, Dayo, on wisdom. So I'll just allow one question, and then we'll go into how people can stay connected with you. I do know the person who wants to speak. His name is Dr. M.D. Williams, and he's one of the most impressive supporters of the Daily African Proverbs. So I had no idea it was even
Yay.
on wisdom. So I'll let him in here real quick. Okay, Dr. M.D. Williams, can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Excellent. So
Hold on.
I'll give you a second to go ahead and share your thoughts and maybe ask a brief question to Dayo, and then we'll continue with the conversation. It's nice to see you here this morning.
Nice to see you too, Simon. And I appreciate you, Dayo, for everything you've done. When I was working to get in the Daily African Proverbs, and I saw the short stream, I quickly downloaded Wisdom. Didn't know about the app until I actually was listening to you two in the beginning, and then I immediately started download the app and started listening there. And I appreciate everything that you said, and I appreciate the reason why you started Wisdom. And it makes a lot of sense because I am a big proponent of African and African Americans and ethnic people having their own platforms and building on their own platforms. I'm definitely appreciative of what you were just talking about with the Wisdom coins, and because I'm the same way as Simon. I do give out a lot of advice. I am a practitioner, scholar, and executive leadership, and I do give out a lot of advice. But it'd be an opportunity for people to really mentor directly from me, and definitely ethnic and minority and Black and African, of all the knowledge that I do have in leadership and developing leaders. So I do appreciate that greatly, and I will be spreading the news about Wisdom here as soon as I get off of listening. And then I was going to ask a question of what was your motivation for starting Wisdom, but you answered that question already. I will ask you this question, and not giving up any trade secrets or anything that you want to, but what is your vision for Wisdom?
Sure. So, was it a doctor? Great to meet you. So
Yeah,
glad you were able to join.
his
Um,
name is Dr. M.D. Williams, and he's actually a U.S. Army and Navy veteran. He's got such an amazing story. His wife is also a U.S. Army veteran, and
Whoa.
I've interviewed both of them. Really, really amazing individual.
And Simon, I
Uh,
like to say, I apologize, Dayo, but Simon, I like to say she is also listening too. I don't think she's had a chance to download the app yet, but she's also listening through Wisdom because I sent her the link immediately. But yeah, go ahead.
oh, perfect. Oh my gosh. Dr. Williams, thank you so much for your support, even in this short time. And my vision with wisdom is, I mean, I think once we've said we've helped 1 million people to be mentored and to take in knowledge that they can use to level up their lives, that for me is the first big milestone. I think oftentimes when we listen to people's journeys, right, people's stories, when they think back, there will often be pivotal moments where they were able to tap into the wisdom of a mentor. Sometimes it would be, a short little conversation, but it opened up a new facet. It helped them to overcome a challenge. And what you'll find on wisdom is, yes, we do have a category around leadership and culture, which may fit you nicely. But we have categories around identity and parenting and wellness and spirituality. So that there's a whole sort of like catalog of mentors. And yeah, so for me, the the vision will be is when we can say at least we've helped 1 million people. And I think particularly as you say yourself, and you and Simon, you're not alone in this problem, where myself too, where a lot of we do a lot of mentoring, right? And then those of us that come big families, extended families, communities, underrepresented communities. I edited a CV for a colleague's nephew in Australia. Never even met the guy. I've never been to Australia, but because she's close to me, she said I think he had moved over from Nigeria. He was struggling to integrate. I took the time and I edited his CV because I think a lot of us have it within us, right? That we want to give back, and we know that oftentimes as individuals they have the desire, they want to do it, but they need just a bit of mentoring. And I think absolutely with wisdom, it's a great place where for yourself as a mentor and a leader and an expert, if somebody wants a quick session with you, you can do it on wisdom, because as you mentor somebody on wisdom, you're also mentoring the people who are listening into the conversation. As we know, we can learn a lot from hearing other people get mentored. A lot of the time we have the same questions. So you're not just helping that person, you're helping whoever is listening in. Then the conversation is being recorded. And you'll notice on your profile to Wisdom, you have a link to your profile. So you can share your profile link with anyone. They can listen to your talks, which is something that and around building wisdom, because I got to the point where, as I said, my inbox was being inundated and girls were saying, oh, I'm a woman in tech, or I'm a black woman, I don't see many black women in tech, can you please mentor me? And I got to the point where I would just send them links to interviews and talks I had done, and I was like, if you listen to this talk, you'll get the advice, because I did not have the time to sit down with each person. So I think wisdom is definitely an opportunity for like experts and mentors, where you can build your personal brand, build up a following. And then, the last thing I'll add as well, which I'm sure Simon is aware of, once you give a talk on wisdom, it's recorded by default, it's saved to your profile, but you can download the audio file for your talk afterwards and repurpose that wherever you wish. Maybe you have a podcast, maybe you want to send it to someone. Of course, you can share wisdom talks, which is maybe what you did with your wife. I'm not sure if you share the link to a talk. Anyone can play the talk back through your browser. So I think what's important is, of course, wisdom is growing by the day. We're about 7 weeks old. But even when you create within wisdom, it is very easy for you to then share that, as you said, perhaps through your browser. And Simon, to your point, although we're not in Africa yet, I know wisdom it's already being used, and particularly where wisdom has the aspect of you can play it through the browser. I'm very excited for that, because that is like a low data, lower tech solution, for some people to be able to learn. But yes, so thank you, Dr. Williams.
You're so welcome. Real quick, I just wanted to say you're so welcome, and I like it because we have a like mind. Because the number in my head, believe it or not, was 1 million. Helping 1 million people, mentoring 1 million people. That was a number that I always had in my head. So I appreciate that. And so I like minds, think alike. But I appreciate that.
Thank you so much. Dayo, do you have a response to that, or could we continue to
We can continue, but it was great. It was great to meet Dr. Williams.
Excellent. Yeah, is again Dr. M.D. Williams. Thank you again for your continued support, and say hello to your wife and say thank you to her as well. Now we are at the point where I want us to talk about how people can stay connected with you, and also how people can support your work. I'm really interested in the. I want you to speak to this a little. In when wisdom will be accessible in Africa for mentors. I feel that that's a place where wisdom is also needed. In Africa, people tend to embrace knowledge a lot. People are always looking for knowledge. But then if you, for me, I feel that I'm a bridge between the African diaspora and Africa. And so on a day-to-day basis, through the daily African proverbs, I create a direct link and have an audience from both places. So out of curiosity, if you want to speak to that briefly, and then share with us how everyone who is listening can support you, and also how they can stay connected with you.
Okay, so currently wisdom, we are actually live at the moment, just in two regions. So England and Canada, America and Australia at the moment. However, we are just 7 weeks old, and global expansion is absolutely a priority. I don't have set dates, but absolutely, we cannot just stay in 4 countries. And of course, Africa is sub-Saharan Africa, particularly. It's dear to my heart, and like you said, we need the wisdom. We are a learning people. We teach, my gosh, in Africa, we teach ourselves things without anybody even coming to learn. I don't think anybody came to teach crypto, within Africa, but we learn and we take the knowledge and apply it. So it's absolutely a priority. Android is also a priority. We're not going to take, I know sometimes when apps launch they might take a year to do Android. We're not going to take a year. We're working on it now. We are a small team, but I like to say we are a small but mighty team. So I think the first stage for us, we want this within a few months, is to have Android. And once we have Android, then going for the global expansion. So to anybody, if they are listening in on the continent, I want to just say wisdom is coming. For now, if you follow Simon on social media, he shares the links daily so you can listen through your browser. And I don't know if this is official or unofficial, but we do have people who will change their app store location to America on the continent to download wisdom, and then they change it back. So I actually do see in the analytics and the back end, we have Nigeria's it's in like our top 10 countries. So if you really can't wait, and I know it's unofficial, but just switch your VPN. I think we all know we have to do this back home. Switch your VPN and download wisdom and switch it back.
That's a tip that I will also share. Yeah, I'm just so grateful. Now, you haven't shared how people can stay connected with you. Yeah.
Thank you. Yes. So for wisdom, our website is at wisdom.audio. So yes, you heard correctly. That is www.wisdom.audio. And you will find our social media. We're on Twitter, Instagram, LinkedIn, and Facebook at Join Wisdom. So if you search for Join Wisdom, you will find us everywhere. Definitely give us a follow. We feature our top mentors all the time. And actually, I should mention, I know it didn't come up today, but on Wisdom, we have, everyone on Wisdom can mentor, but we do have hand-selected top mentors, people who we have selected who we know give quality, reliable advice, like Simon. Simon is a top mentor on Wisdom, and we regularly feature and showcase our content. So, and we do also share. We don't share proverbs, maybe we should, but we do share also daily quotes and knowledge as well. So absolutely, you can find us at Join Wisdom on all platforms. And then if you're interested to follow me personally, I'm primarily on Twitter and Instagram, and my handle is Dayo AKK, because there are so many Dayos. I couldn't just get Dayo.
Oh, Dayo, I'm so grateful we met, and I'm so proud of you, really. I don't know if I've said that yet, but yeah, I'm so proud of you. And if there's anything I can do at a personal level to support this, you've taken on not just the bull, but the elephant with its head, and you don't have to fight alone. So if you need any help, let me know and I'll be there. And, to all the amazing listeners and also the viewers of the African Father in America podcast and the Daily African Proverbs, thank you for spending your time with us. Today I've been having a beautiful conversation with Dayo, and we talked about so much. You can catch it across all podcasting platforms and also on Wisdom, where we've been hosting the conversation exclusively. So Dayo, I'm looking forward to part 2. I had so many questions, come up, but I want to keep them for part 2. I'm just grateful, and we are going to wrap it up at this point for today's session. And again, Dr. M.D. Williams, thank you so much for being here with us. Dayo, have a nice afternoon. It's afternoon where you are, right? Excellent.
Yes, indeed.
Excellent.
And Simon, again, thank you. Thank you so much for having me. It's been a pleasure. It's been and I've been aware of your work in the space for a while, so I've been very excited to connect.
Oh, thank you. Thank you so much. Take care. I'm sure, you'll hear from me in just a moment. Thank you so much. Take care.
Okay, thank you.
African Father in America. Tujikaze, tujikaze, jikaze. Tujikaze, tujikaze, jikaze. Africa, tujikaze, tujikaze, jikaze. America, tujikaze, tujikaze, jikaze. You are listening to African Father in America podcast by Simon Javan Okello, live from Seattle, Washington, USA.